Hey, what's going on, everybody? Phil here, and I'm going to make a couple of videos to talk about a tournament that I went to last weekend. It was an escalation tournament, 200 points frontline, 300 points countermeasures, 400 points acquisition. Um, Unfortunately, I forgot to take pictures for the 200 frontline game, so we are going to start off talking about the 300 countermeasures game. So, countermeasures is kind of a funky mission. You really got to build a list different than other missions because you have to be able to do all the classifieds. But in this tournament, where you get to take three lists and one list is just for countermeasures, you can really sort of skew for it. So here is my list. I have Sheskin, who I really am hoping to do my, uh, killing. She's kind of my actual fight piece, where the rest of the army is kind of built around doing classifieds. Of course, Norkius can kill as well, but he's also a fast, resilient specialist who can really take stuff out. In CC, we have the Mentor, a good lieutenant, and I don't mind the counterintelligence either. Some R drones, some Icadrons, good defensive, repeater network, cheap orders. Dartok hacker, because he can actually spotlight, unlike Bit and Kiss, but he also has pitchers, so he can lay out a hacking network, although not as well as Bit and Kiss. Vector Spitfire. So this is a pretty good attack piece, but also an excellent classified doer because he's middle infantry and he also has MSV2. He's pretty quick with 6-2 movement. So I like that piece in this list. Prior, I had a little bit of a variant of this list that had a Noctifer, but after realizing how many classifieds the Vector was able to complete, I put in a Vector instead. We have a Preda chain rifle. We have the MedTech with 2 slave drones, actually. Using the MedTech here, normally I like to have the Caliban engineer to go with my Q drone, but in this case, having a doctor and an engineer in one model is just too valuable, in my opinion, for um, countermeasures. We have the Liberto, who's another strong defensive piece and also a great offensive option if you see a lane. And then 2 Dotarazai, good defensively. I love berserking stuff with them. Great to have smoke to get and go into classifieds because, Sheskin's really my only gun. Maybe Q drone could be an okay secondary gun. But the smoke will be very helpful. All right. So in this round of countermeasures, my opponent is Steel Phalanx. I got a little disappointed that I didn't take a missile bot to this tournament because, well, I know there are players who can have success against Steel Phalanx other than using guided missile. I am not one of those players, but it will certainly be an interesting challenge. So in his list, we have 2 Animatarchos, I believe they're called. We have one here with Uteros, Akmon, Pandora, and a Myrmidon. So a specialist, and then Uteros is just an absolute beast. And then we have a kind of more stay back Animatarchos with 2 Myrmidon, Phoenix, and McCann, 2 Netrods, cheap orders. And then kind of interesting pick here is Atalanta and a missile bot. So Atalanta, can be extremely powerful and oppressive, strong piece, and then Missilebot provides a good option because Steel Phalanx isn't the fastest, and an attack that you're going to do, you're going to have to move up 4 models that, unless you position them really perfectly, you have a risk of losing them all. So I like the inclusion of a missile bot because, you can move up, do some classifieds, and as you retreat, Pandora could lay down some pitchers and either spotlight during your retreat or just make them a pain in the butt for your opponent when it flips to their turn. I guess having Atalanta and the missile bot means you can't have some things like you can see he doesn't have any chain of command. So if McCann goes down, he's going to be in loss of lieutenant. And no Ajax. But I think Ajax is getting less and less popular because of his hacking vulnerability. So moving on to the game. We'll look at my opponent's deployment first. So he wins the die roll and elects to go first. And I elect to deploy second on that side. So going through his deployment, we have a Netrod, a Flash Pulse Bot, a War Core, Pandora, Uteros, a Myrmidon, and Akmon. I'm not sure which is which. And then we have a Myrmidon, and Machaon, and a Netrod over here. His reserve drops, he's going to have two reserves. One is going to be Phoenix, and one is going to be at Atlanta. Okay, so moving to my deployment, we have a flash pulse bot. I wasn't sure if he had an Ectromoy, so I just thought, shutting down this area here was okay. We have a decoy and a mentor. We have an Icadron, kind of just a repeater network here, and can flamethrower anyone that gets too close. Under this bridge here, you can't see it, but there's a Dartok, again, to just chain rifle anything that comes around here. We have Dr. Worm, prone, and his two slaves, one here and one here. This one obviously paired with the QR or TR bot because that's just such a powerful duo defensively. Of course, bring up the TR bot if he goes down. We have a Vector Spitfire prone here, a Dotarazai, a Preda, Norkius kind of chilling on the stairs here, Ardrone, Flash Pulse bot looking out this way, and again, an Icadron here to shut down with a repeater network and flamethrower anything that comes around here. I think this deployment is a very strong TR bot placement because I look at anyone who tries to come in through the room. I look over here and I look over here. I was very careful to ask my opponent that nobody could see it from his DZ, even if he had deployed here or here with the reserve at Atlanta. And these billboards are what's protecting the TR bot from that. So this is one of my better TR bot placements. And it ends up being very beneficial to me during the game. And for my reserve, I have my Liberto goes here. I put a mine up here because I don't want him to sneak around and then be able to get into my guts by going through this, going up on this building and across this bridge. So the mine is there. It doesn't end up playing into the game, but I think it was an okay placement. Sorry, I didn't mention before, my HVTs are 1, 2, and 3. There's one over here, and his HVTs he puts all over here. There is a wall here for these buildings, so that's really a pretty safe spot for them. And with him going first and having the initiative, it'll prove hard for me to break into his half of the table. So his first turn, what he does is, and we also have QAZ creatures. Mine is there, and his is here. So his first turn, he's going to use the Uteros Animatarchos. He moves up. He's like, I guarantee you I'm going to get crit by this QAZ creature. And that's exactly what happens. QAZ creature crits Uteros. Uteros doesn't crit, but he makes both saves. Kind of funny when he makes both saves, I say, gosh darn it, but got to realize how lucky I was that it crit him in the first place. Then he activates again, this time killing the QAZ creature. He comes around this way with Uteros, kind of the rest of the team back here. Uteros peeks out and fights the TR bot, puts it unconscious. He comes around here and over here. Meanwhile, the rest of the fire team is kind of moving in this direction. Now that this is down, there's really nothing else AROing actively. So Uteros peeks the Liberto and comes out. I choose to do nothing. He discovers and succeeds. Then, the fire team continues moving this way. Uteros peeks out again and sees the Liberto out of cover. I contemplate what my options are. He does catch me out of cover, so I don't want to hit him with a slug, especially with his mimetism -6. And I could template just Uteros and put a wound on him. But I think of something which I thought was pretty clever. And instead of using my shotgun, I place a mine here. And the reason I do that is because with this mine, it's going to catch one of the Myrmidons in its blast template. So he decides to, I think, heavy pistol me. He kills me, but that mine is there. He activates the team again. He's headed to retreat over here and get onto this building. So he moves and dodges. I believe the Myrmidon succeeds its dodge. that gets caught, and Euros fails his dodge and actually takes a wound from the mine. So happy with what I did. It took him like half an order, so he couldn't move. He had to move dodge. And I got the same result as the best I could have hoped for by putting a template on Uteros, by putting a wound on him. And the template was almost catching Akmon, but it wasn't quite. So after that, he can't complete any of the cards. I can't recall what they were, but they were not achievable. One of them was like be in contact with a rem, and two others. So he plops up safe with his fire team there. They're in a bit of a more of an aggressive position for the next turn. And he has put down two things. Unfortunately, he hasn't put down completely my TR bot. Fortunately for him, fortunately for me. This is the end of my turn. Or his turn. This is the end of his turn from his perspective. And to talk about my turn, I'm going to go back to the previous screen. But I get quite lucky. So here's my screen at the beginning of my turn. And I flip one of the cards that we had before, and I get the like heal something with wounds or structure. So very lucky for me. So first thing I do, slave bot comes over here prone, picks up the TR bot, one classified for me. Very fortunate. Then I think about what I can do for my turn, and I think Vector Spitfire can move up to here. It can cautious move, avoiding Atalanta, and then it can come over here and fight Phoenix from pretty close. And then once Phoenix is down, maybe Sheskin can come up here and fight Atalanta. So that's my plan, at least. But first thing I got to do is deal with his QAZ. So what I do is I've picked up the TR bot. Sheskin moves, fights QAZ, kills it, gains a wound. Awesome. This Dadarazai, I think, moves up this Dadarazai moves up and throws a smoke about here. The reason I do it is so after I fight Phoenix, I can fight the Flash Pulse bot with my Spitfire. So smoke is down and Vector Spitfire moves up. Cautious moves to here, moves a little, no arrow from Phoenix because he can't see me through the smoke, and then I fight Phoenix. 4-12s versus I think 2-8s. Unfortunately for me, the Vector Spitfire gets crit and dies. So now Sheskin certainly can't come around here and fight Atalanta because then, Phoenix is there too. Just not feasible because I wouldn't want to fight Atalanta from the building. I need to move out because I want to be for sure within 24 in my mind. So I scrap that plan. So kind of what I end up doing is dirtling a little bit with Sheskin, and she ends up coming here below the TR bot to make a line that cannot be sliced here. So if, let's say, Uteros wants to come here again and fight the TR bot, he's going to have to fight Sheskin at the same time, and I put her in suppressive there. So didn't do any damage to him, but I did get one card. So we get back to his turn, and his turn is going to be spent doing a lot of classified. So this is the beginning of his turn. Sorry for the blurriness. So I guess it was, yes, this Dadarazai that came up and removed smoke and ended up here. And here's Sheskin in suppressive, trying to protect my TR bot. So he gets a new card and flips a card, and he gets sabotage and data scan. So those are two that he wants to do. So what he does is he kind of moves Pandora a bit down this way, breaking her out of the fire team. He wants to data scan this Dadarazai. On one of his second moves, though, the Dadarazai is in zone of control and gets a dodge. He dodges out to see Pandora, and also seen by Atalanta, but I don't really care so much. And here we call a judge over because he says, I'm going to move and I'm going to data scan you. And data scan says it can only or doesn't say, says it can be face to face with a reset. And I figure, well, then it's got to be face to face with a heavy pistol too. He says no, it only says reset, and I absolutely see his point. I could see the judge calling this either way. Judge comes over and says we're going to call that it is face to face with a heavy pistol. So he says, all right, screw that. It's not worth trying to struggle through a face to face to get data scan and possibly getting Pandora marked because she is NWI but not shock immune. So if she loses that face to face, she's toasted. So what he does is he puts down the Dararazai with Atalanta and just moves on to data scan this Dararazai. Very deftly staying out of zone of control of this Ikadron. I do just try to reset this time instead of dodge, and he wins that and gets data scan. So with data scan done, he brings Pandora back, reforms this link. He might have actually moved Akmon first before going out with Pandora, but Akmon comes up, touches this building, places a detarge, and gets him sabotage. And he moves his Animatarchos so that I believe we have Akmon here, a Myrmidon here, Pandora down here, and Uteros prone up here. It's a very strong position because it's hard to get to, and if I am not able to deal with this Animatarchos during my turn, Uteros is going to rain hell upon me. Uteros actually does, on his way up, get an angle here to see Sheskin, but not the TR bot. Sheskin just dodges and ends up right about here. So that's the end of his turn, and it goes over to my turn. So I got combat support. This is the end of his turn. He's got now 2 cards. And this is this powerful position you can see here with this Animatarchos, hard to get to, and with the possibility of doing some serious damage. So I'm going to actually go back to this screen to describe what I do for my turn. So Sheskin's here, and he's got his Animatarchos up here in this strong position. I've really only attempted to make one play with the Vector Spitfire so far this game. I think it was a good play, but dice didn't reward me. And here I am pretty scared. Like I said, I didn't bring a guided missile, so there's no super good way to deal with these guys. And I think, if I want to stay in this game at all, I've got to really risk it. I forgot to mention on my turn I had Cybermass Norkius. And I think that Norkius is the best way to pick myself out of this situation. Probably what I should have done prior to moving Norkius is brought in this Dartok out more. You can actually see he's moved a little since the beginning of the game. During my dirtling with Sheskin that I brought her back here, he attempted to put a pitcher here and failed. So probably what I should have done was move out here and laid a pitcher here and Trinity'd Pandora before I went on my Norkius run, but I didn't think of that. So what I do is Norkius is Cybermast. He move, jumps up here, moves here. Now he's prone. He moves. Fortunately, because of the little lip on this bridge, Atalanta and Phoenix cannot see him. So he moves once, and Uteros can see him, so dodges back a little bit, and then I'm able to base Uteros. So I am 2 25s versus his one, I think 23 or something. So I'm slightly favored, but this isn't a play I'm excited about. And I forget that Pandora is there and that Norkius is a hacker. And he says, okay, I'm going to Oblivion you at the same time, breaking the fire team, but who cares? And I say, well, shit, but it is what it is. I'm going to go for it. I win the face-to-face. I kill Uteros. He hits me with the Oblivion, and I make both saves. So not the best play, but this time the dice do reward me. Then I am now prone here. I Trinity Pandora. She zero pain or whatever it's called. She fails both saves. I land all 3 Trinities. I think one of them is a crit, and down goes Pandora. I scoot out a little bit and see Akmon. He tries to shoot me or something, and I breaker rifle him and kill him right away. I don't coup de grace Uteros in case there's a useful, like I get Predator or something, or Spotlight him, an enemy model or something. So I leave his corpse there. Norkius comes back here prone, and he cyber masks there. So I don't think these were the smartest plays by me, but they're heavily rewarded. Uh, yeah, Norkius has dismantled that Animatarkos fire team, and I feel back in the game. So it turns to my opponent's turn. There's combat support, which I got. There's that fire team. Here is the, I guess you'd call it an action shot of Uteros dodging back, and here comes Norkius. And let's see what we've got in our next picture. Here's the end of my turn, unconscious Uteros. This Myrmidon's still here, and I'm prone here. So turn goes over to him. There's one card we have that, no one's been able to do. It's the be in base to base with an unconscious HI rem or tag. And I think the cards that end up on his turn are HVT inoculation and some other ones, and he decides he's going to go for HVT inoculation. So he's going to do it with this Animatarkos, the defensive one, which is Machaon, 2 Myrmidon, and Phoenix. So his entire turn is pretty much spent moving this link up. They come, smoke here, smoke here. So this Dadaraz, I can't mess with them. They are overlapping, so no one can see. So Machaon comes over here, does HVT inoculation. It's like, doctor or something, a paramedic. He runs all the way back here, kind of making a defensive setup with his Animatarkos. This moves back over here to make it harder to access his rem. And that is the end of his turn. So on my turn, I know my cards are Spotlight and HVT twice, Net Undermine, which is take like a character or other things and do a whip roll on the enemy side of the table. And there's still that card be in base to base with with a rem. So I think to myself that it's possible I could win the game, but I'm not sure. So what I do is I bring Norkius down here, kind of like jump down here, come over here, cautious move, and end up here and do Net Undermine in one roll, which is nice. I am cyber masked, so I think, maybe I could like move, fight the war core, move, dodge, and like get into base to base with this rem here, and then spotlight these with a Dartok moving up here and shooting pitchers. But frankly, to get the rem one, just too much would have to go my way. And then I might not even have orders left for the Dartok. So what I decide to do instead is Dartok comes to here. If he misses the pitcher, I lose, but he lands the pitcher. And then I spotlight the HVTs twice. I have one order left after successfully spotlighting twice, so very close to failure for me, but I do get lucky and get that. Overall, how did the game go? It was a strange one for me because I made this really kind of risky play and paid off, and I kind of made this with Norkius, and I made this kind of safer play with the Spitfire that didn't pay off, but hey, dice are dice, and it'll happen sometimes. I think that this deployment of the fire team, not deployment, but where my opponent ended his fire team at the end of his turn 2 was a great spot and well protected. I kind of just got lucky. Overall, it was a bit of a nail biter, not a very bloody game, but it ends up with a 3-3 tie. So if we can look, my opponent got HVT inoculation, data scan, and sabotage, whereas I got combat support, Net Undermine, and HVT designation. That's the spotlight one. Industrial espionage was on the table from the beginning, and no one could get it. It tempted me, but it really wasn't a realistic possibility for me. And here's a dead Dadarazai. So That's the game. Here's the winning Dartok. Up, and that's from my next game. So, thanks everyone for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.